Hi, I'm Reverend Jake Zabe, and welcome to Children's Bible Stories. Alright children, today we're going to do another children's apocryphal story. So this story is one of the early church traditions known as Martha and the Dragon. So after Jesus had ascended to heaven, and after the Christians had been scattered from Jerusalem and the disciples had gone all over the world, the friends of Jesus, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, had also gone off into the Roman Empire to preach the gospel. And they came to a town in what is today southern France, which was back then part of the Roman Empire. And there they came to preach the gospel. Now, according to the legend, the townsfolk were terrified of this devastating creature that lived out in the forest and that would kill people. It was a big, terrible dragon, which they called the Tarasque. And this is kind of based on the name of the town, which was called Tarasque. Now, according to the legend, Martha, the oldest of the siblings, she decided that she would go out into the forest to confront this creature. Now, the main account of Martha and the Dragon comes from a 12th century work known as the Golden Legend, which was a book of all the miracles and heroic stories of all the saints. Now, over the millennia, the story of Martha and the Dragon had changed quite a bit, and there are numerous different versions of the story. Even the description of the dragon has changed many times. Sometimes it's got a fish tail, sometimes it has 6 legs. There's many different versions of the story. But there are a few things that seem to be consistent in the story of Martha's dragon. One thing is the description of the dragon. The dragon was said to have a lion-like head, a turtle-like shell on its back, and a scorpion-like tail. Now, if we look at the different dinosaurs that existed, there does seem to be one dinosaur that does somewhat fit this description, and that's an Ankylosaurus. Its head is not exactly like a lion, it's a bit of a beastie head, but it does have a big turtle-like shell on its back. And while this Ankylosaur that we're using has a club tail, there were some Ankylosaurs that had more spiky tails like a scorpion. And so, according to the story, Martha went out to the forest and the dragon came out to attack her. Now, in the later traditions, Martha sprinkled the dragon with holy water and used her virgin girdle to make a lasso around its neck. Now, some of these probably didn't happen, and the reason we know these didn't happen is because they don't reflect the doctrine of the early church, but reflect the doctrine of the later Catholics, who believed that you could use holy water to perform miracles and do stuff with holy water other than just the sacrament of baptism. So we can probably assume that that part of the story is just something that the later Catholics made up. But according to the original legends, when Martha was confronted by the dragon, she was able to tame it and basically lead it around like her pet. This would be further evidence to suggest that the dragon was probably an ankylosaur, because ankylosaurs were herbivores, meaning they ate plants. And so there's no reason why the Martha dragon would try and kill her if it was a herbivore. Whereas you see other dragon legends, like the legend of George and the dragon can't be tamed and he has to kill it because it's eating meat and eating people. whereas Martha was able to tame her dragon, which suggests that it's probably a herbivore. And since, as I mentioned earlier, the description sounds somewhat like an ankylosaur, this would make sense. Now, sadly though, according to the legend, Martha brought the dragon back into the town peacefully. But the townfolk, so scared by this creature, attacked it and managed to kill it now while it was nice and calm and not attacking them. And it was after they'd killed the dragon that they were very sorry and regretted having killed the nice, peaceful creature. And so, children, that's the legend of Martha and the dragon. I hope you've enjoyed this story. I've been your host, Reverend Jake Zabel. Goodbye and God bless.